Hello, my name is Paul-Beckett, and I wanted to share today a little bit about the roles we play in life. Um, it's almost like widely accepted, isn't it, that we're one person from one minute to the next and in different situations. So you'll have a work me, you'll have an out of work me, you'll have a with my friends me, and then maybe with a different set of friends me. I know I certainly did, and part of my journey has been really looking at these roles and seeing how they served me, and also was it making me happy? So I kind of felt like I knew myself at a base level, and then everything else was a bit of a show. And I also, on some level, kind of thought or understood or assumed that that's the understanding that everybody else had. You're allowed to know yourself, but everybody else gets a version. Every situation gets a version, and that version of you can be wildly different one to another. So even if I think about how I would have been with certain groups of friends compared to certain other friends, I had wild friends, I had more chilled friends, and I would almost adapt not just my behaviors, but almost the character that I portrayed in these different circumstances. So post-realization, that was a really weird thing for me to think about, because I was like, okay, so not only did I kind of from the realization realize that I'd kind of been playing make-believe anyway, I was also like, wow, look just how multi-layered this make-believe has been. Look how I've adapted the character. So this character that I'm calling Paul, so solid, so seemingly real, is really, really malleable. Like he changes from one situation to another, from one time of day to another, from one situation to another, from one group of friends to another. So it really had me looking at how much time and energy I must have been subconsciously perhaps spending on making sure that, like, that mask was on straight. Is this the version of Paul that I'm supposed to be right now? And honestly, when I thought about it, I was like, that's mind blowing. The sheer amount of effort that I was putting in, the sheer energy that I was expending on trying to keep the correct mask on at all times. And yeah, there were threads obviously that ran through. It wasn't like I'm a schizophrenic who was like a wildly different character from one moment to the next. Of course, there's these core threads of Paul, but I just realized that there was really a lot of play acting going on. There was really a lot of like reactions coming from like past experiences. So, for instance, when I was in a situation in the moment, I realized that my reactions were just more often than not based on past reactions to something similar. So I was never actually just being in the moment and seeing what was going on and asking myself honestly, how do I feel about this? Am I happy with it? Do I not like it? Is there something about this that makes me feel uneasy? I was just always kind of going through this little Rolodex in the back of my head of things that have happened similar and then combining all of those reactions into what my reaction was going to be. So again, it became like, how would the character of Paul react to this? That's almost the question I was asking myself, rather than being in the moment and being like, how does this make me feel? How does this make me feel honestly now? Not how should I feel? Not how have I felt about this historically, but how do I feel? So some things, obviously, we've all got preferences, we've all got likes and dislikes. And yes, that is part of the makeup of the character, but something could happen in my life that could really put me into a bad mood for the rest of the day, really could have really threw me off, really had me feeling victimized, really had me playing that oh woe is me card. But post-realization, I was like, wait a minute, do I need to feel that way? So something's come up. Okay, it mightn't even have been a preferable thing, but I'm like, right, does this need does this need to throw me the way it always has? Do I need to flick back through every single memory that I've ever had of how I've reacted to something similar to this, make an amalgamation of them, and then throw that out? unconsciously without even really thinking about it. So almost like I was on remote control. So thinking about how the role of Paul changed from situation to situation, from person to person, from, do you know what I mean? It was actually incredible to me to see that the amount of effort that I was putting on to making sure that this costume was on, to making sure that I had the right version of the mask for the right situation. And it was just honestly mind-blowing. Mind-blowing to me because I realized how normal it is, how ordinary, how that's what we all do. So then coming from this place of peace and coming from this place of joy, which was then like a new baseline for me, a new standard, I was like, why would I keep on feel so inadequate, so self-conscious that I would always be checking my own behavior to see did it fit in line with what the character of Paul should be behaving like in this moment, rather than just coming from a place of honesty, where I could be like, genuinely, how does this make me feel? And it wouldn't have to always make me feel great. It could be like, oh yeah, this isn't ideal, but does it need to trigger off all of these amateur dramatics that I would have thrown off, all these fireworks that I've done in the past or something similar? Do I need to let it do that to me? And the answer was no. The answer was choosing to be as present as I could be. Because even now, if I let that presence slip, because you can get hypnotized by what's going on in the world, by strong emotion, by particularly clear and present drama, that it's so easy just to fall back into that mindless, like make-believe character. That make-believe character who honestly it felt like was being remote controlled. Like the reactions didn't even really seem to be mine. They just seemed to be a habit. And habits that were picked up by seeing how other people react to these situations. So not even really going on what I think sometimes, or this is how people react when this goes on, so this must be how I feel as well. And then just really having the clarity and the presence to examine that and be like, is that how I feel? Does this upset my peace? Now, in post-realization, no. I've realized that my peace isn't dictated by outer circumstances, and it never was. That's the absolute plot twist. It never was. You couldn't have told me that. I thought something rubbish happens, I feel rubbish. That's it. That's the way it happened. That's the way it happens. Something that isn't my preference happens, then I need to be really upset about this. I need to be fed up about it. I need to feel like, oh, why is this? Why me? Why is this always happening to me? Blah blah blah. And then that in turn changed the absolute trajectory of the rest of my day. It's just like, wow, I just couldn't. I couldn't see that I had another option. And that other option was to be as present as possible, not let myself fall into these like conditioned behaviors and these like old patterns of behavior. So something happens, yeah, could be something great, but yeah, it can also be something rubbish because that's life. That's life. We don't live in like this euphoric state all the time. We're living in a world of duality here. The good comes with the bad. But like a boat being on the sea, it's like if the sea was calm, then my boat would be calm. If the sea was rough and choppy, my boat would be a bit more, oh. If the sea was stormy, my boat would be flying all over the place. But then I realized, hang on a minute, I get to decide how anything external to me affects me. I'm not a puppet being thrown about by these weather conditions. So really staying centered in the joy and the peace, which is now my baseline. I'm like, okay, so things can happen that are sad. Things can happen that are scary. Things can happen that are shocking. And I will deal with them in an appropriate manner. I'm not going to sit here spiritually bypassing it's I don't like if someone passes, I don't get sad. Of course, there's a sadness to it. But I don't attach all the stories to it that I would have before. Oh, this means this, and now I have to be this, and now I have to be seen to be feeling this. And I need to say this because this is what you say in this situation. It just meant that I was able to really respond from a calmer place. And I could respond with love and I could respond with compassion, even when things weren't going my way. I didn't need to get reactive. So looking around now, I see like my friends, people around me, I see the same thing. I see that it seems that we're a victim of our circumstances. And don't get me wrong, of course, when you can be in a war zone and really need to act a certain type of way, of course, this is not asking us not to act normally to the thing in front of us. But what it's saying is that our inner state doesn't have to be shaken to the extent that it is at the moment, to the extent that I certainly remember it being, which then means that I can come up with action which is completely appropriate to the situation, but isn't adding to the drama. It isn't stirring the pot more. It isn't adding to the hysteria around me. So I've said this before and I'll say it again, if I walk past a swimming pool and someone's drowning in it, I wouldn't say, don't worry, you're not a body anyway and there's no water and it's all a dream. Of course I wouldn't. I'd get them out of the bloody swimming pool as quickly as I could. But in my life now, when things are coming up, when things that would have triggered me before, things that could have made me feel hard done by, things that could have made me really want a pity party, but why is this happening? Things that could have got me angry or upset. I have a choice. I just didn't know I had that choice before. So even just realizing that there is a choice to step back, we always had that thing as well. I remember my mum telling me, count to 10. When something happens that wants to make you angry, count to 10. And kind of a little bit of truth in it, isn't it? It's just giving yourself that minute that you don't let that automatic, like knee-jerk reaction that's not even really based on this situation. It's based on other situations and other people's reactions and the expected reaction. So just to give yourself that time just to be like, right, okay, and then come at it. And honestly, the difference that's made to my life, and it seems so obvious to say it. I almost feel like I'm teaching my granny to suck eggs here by saying this out loud and bothering to make a video on it. But actually, from what I remember of my life before this and from what I see around me, I think it's something that we need to hear just to remind ourselves. It's always so simple. It's never complicated. The ego games we've made and all that are complex to the max. Like there's multi-layered and there's hidden meanings and there's symbols and there's signs and we're reading each other's minds because we don't want to really just ask and be honest and hear on something honest. So actually, just to give yourself that moment to be like, what part of this is make-believe? What part of this is me playing the role and doing what I think is the character's expected reaction compared to how do I actually feel? How can I come at this in a calmer, more peaceful, more compassionate way? So I thought I'd share, and again, it might seem obvious, but this is obvious. Honestly, I was talking to somebody in the week about self-realization, and I was saying, do you remember the Magic Eye pictures? I think they were like early 2000s. And they kind of just were like a poster that just looked like they were like dots and circles and things like that. And there was no picture at all in it. It was just a mumbo jumbo of things. But then if you stared at them for long enough, you'd be like, no, no, can't see it, can't see it, can't see it. Then somehow you would relax your gaze. And then this 3D image would be there and you'd be like, what? You'd be like, it didn't come from anywhere. It was always there, exactly as it was. You just weren't seeing it. And so that was the mind-bending thing for me with self-realization. I didn't become something more. I didn't get given an award. I didn't make an achievement. I just saw what was already there more clearly. So that same seeing can be put into any kind of circumstance if you give yourself that minute. If you remind yourself that there's another choice, if you're trying to stay present in the moment apart from projecting forward, oh God, what does this mean for the future? Or how did I deal with this in the past? Just being, I know Ram say, be here now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, there we go. We've been told a million times. We've been told a million times in a million different ways. But that simplicity is the easiest thing to forget in the drama, in the heat of the moment, when you're being remote controlled by social expectations and past actions and just anxieties. So I wanted to share it today, and I hope that it would remind you that there is always another choice in every single circumstance. I love you, okay?